Is it working? Yeah, it's working again. I'm sorry, folks. What's my hair doing? I apologize. Sorry about that. Sad thing is I don't know where I, hang on. God damn it, calm down. I don't know the last line I read. Can someone tell me? What was the last thing you heard about the story? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That was bullshit. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah. I just restarted my stream. I think I might go have a cigarette real quick. And we'll find another story. It turned out to be a good story. I mean, that mom was kind of messed up. But, yeah, I'm gonna go burn one real quick. And I don't know. I'm sorry about the internet, guys. I'm running it from the Wi-Fi here, and sometimes it times out. It should be good this time. But I'll be right back. I will talk to you all on the doobly doos. And yeah, so let me play some music and put on this screen and play das music, yeah. Alright, that's better. It's just music. I mean, I can play like regular music now because I paid for a service. But did I get pinged by somebody on Discord? I don't know. All right. Let's take the shoes off. There we go. Oh, Premier Hell. He's doing. Is he here? Last time I talked to him, he was doing good. Hey, Sleek. Can we have spoopy robots? I don't know if I have spoopy robots. Sorry about my internet, guys. It went wonky. Oh, that's 54 minutes long. I would love to read that for you guys, but that is just too much. I like them a little shorter. Oh, this one's like really short. And doesn't have ratings. Let's do it. This one's really short. It's called Good Night, Precious. Oh, what's up? Oh, I've played with it a little bit. I just need to go in and start editing the streams more. But all right, this one's a short one, so let's do the damn thing. My son is 2 years old and does not sleep. So when I saw an online ad for Good Night, Precious, the only book guaranteed to put your child to sleep, I clicked. I was skeptical, but there was a video demonstration on the website. I'm going to show you how this works right now. I've got a child in bed. The goateed man monitored a 3 or 4 year old boy lying in bed wide awake. I'm going to read the book to him. Watch what happens. The video cut to him finishing the book. The sun is set and you slumber. Good night, precious little wonder. Why does my camera look, it looks fine for me. It's probably a low video setting. Oh, yeah. Here we go. As soon as he closed the book, the boy's eyes fixed straight ahead, blank, motionless, and they fluttered shut. No wake-ups in the middle of the night either. Once he falls asleep with this book, he stays asleep, the man said. With the boy's light snores, I was sold. I clicked the order link and in 3 days I had the book in my hands. It was a lot thinner than I expected. only a few cardboard pages. The cover was a drawing of a sleeping boy in bed, as an old woman, maybe his grandma, watched him from a rocking chair in the corner. I read it to Jackson that very night. "It's time to go to sleep, little dear. When you wake up, I'll still be here," I read softly. The illustration showed an old woman tucking a child into bed. She wasn't smiling. I glanced at Jackson, still wiggling and wide awake, but he seemed to be enjoying it at least. "Night has fallen. Stars are out. Go to sleep now. Don't you pout." The image showed the same woman sitting in a rocking chair next to a sleeping child. "You'll sleep through sadness, sleep through pain, and when it's done, we'll do it again." That rhyme is really a stretch. I glanced at the image. The woman was getting out of her seat, walking towards her son's bed. "Go to sleep now, little one. Be patient now. We're almost done." In this drawing, the woman was looking down at the sleeping child from the bedside. She was holding a pillow. I turned the page to the last one. My heart stopped. The old woman was pressing the pillow over the child's face, smiling with one of those cartoonish grins you often see in kids' books. I read in a soft, cautious voice, "The sun is set, and you slumber. Good night, precious little wonder." I closed the book and looked over at Jackson. He was fast asleep. It really works. I moved him to his bed and enjoyed some well-earned time alone. Who cares if the book's a little weird? It really works. An hour later, I was asleep. I woke up at 8. Jackson didn't wake me at all. A welcome change from the usual. I looked over to his still slumbering body and smiled. But 11 a.m., he still hadn't woken up. He never sleeps this late, maybe sick. I turned on some light and talked to him, patted his cheek. No response. "Jackson," I said. I picked him up, put him on my lap. His head slumped against my chest. "Jackson, are you okay?" Nothing, just his soft, deep breaths against me. "Jackson, Jackson, wake up!" Nothing. I yelled in his ear, bounced him up and down, and brought him out into the sun. Nothing woke him up. Now it's almost 3 o'clock. He's been asleep for 19 hours. And I'm about to load him into the car seat and drive him to the doctor. I think something is terribly wrong with him. Oops. I wasn't supposed to read that. They put the warning at the very end. Don't read this. So, there's that. I mean, the old lady did put the pillow over the kid's face. Go to sleep now. Go to. Oh, that was nice. Just popped my wrist. That was good. It's offline. It's okay now. This one's called "I Found a Letter from My Stalker." Oh, is it, am I buffering a lot? I don't know. What's wrong, Pete? Yeah, it's buffering a bit. I dropped it down to 480p. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, bud. You can back up a little bit if you want. Sometimes that helps. But I'm sorry. We'll try to get through this though. You're gonna refresh. Well, I'm gonna start the story soon. It shouldn't take people long to refresh. Oh, pop my toes. There's a Chappy! A wild Chappy has appeared. It's good. You're good. Alright. Make sure you got your Chappy pillows clenched around your chest. I said, I found this letter from my stalker, written by Minister of Owls. I can't even read the dude's name. How am I supposed to read stories? What are you doing here? I found this note nailed onto a tree from my front lawn. I really don't know how to describe it. I'll just let you read it yourself. I saw you today. It was your birthday. You didn't see me. You hardly ever do these days. Your skin looks so nice and healthy, and your eyes, they're the most beautiful I'd ever seen. You've grown so much. I remember you different. You used to look like you when you were. Let me try that again. You've grown so much. I remember how different you used to look when you were younger. I remember the day I first met you. It was 4 years ago today. I was sitting at my desk, head down, listening to the teacher rattling off names of attendants. The teacher called out my name I didn't recognize. A stranger's voice answered behind me. Was there a new student? The teacher didn't pause for a second, just continued to call out names after that. I turned my head to where the voice had come from. I saw you, a pale thing, so thin, your eyes so red, at a seat that should have been empty. I saw fireflies flying around you, flickering, dozens of them, never straying far from you. I saw them going through you and coming through your skin like you were a mist to them. Can you believe I thought you were a ghost? No one else seems to acknowledge the new stranger sitting in the back of the class. Class after class, hour after hour passed as I waited for something to happen. For someone to notice you, for you to leave, for you to let out a ghoulish scream and claw at me like in the horror story. I was certain I was in, but nothing happened. Teachers came and went, My classmates' laughter and slept. You just sat there. The bell rung for recess. The other kids ran to their mundanities for the day, leaving me and you together in an empty classroom. You stood up and pulled a chair from your desk next to you, making it face your desk. You turned your head to me and spoke. Well, you're slow today. Come on, ask me your questions. I don't know why I didn't run away screaming at the moment. Probably would have turned out better for me in the long run. But let's not speculate. I guess at that point in my life, I was pretty bloody lonely. I figured there was only a 50-50 chance you'd eat me, and the other 50 was that someone wanted to talk to me. Kids' priorities don't make sense to me either these days. So I went along with the flow. I walked over to your desk and sat down on the chair you pulled up for me and asked my question. What are you? You told me you didn't know. You said that you were once a child just like me with parents and friends. You used to go to the same schools as me. Then one day, one ordinary day, when you were 10, you just woke up. You were like this, covered in fireflies, and no one could remember you. The moment they concentrated on anything else. No one, not even your parents. You told me of how I'd noticed you every day, how I'd think of you until recess every day, how I'd come to you every day, how we'd talk every day, how we would meet for the first time every day for the past 3 years, about how I'd forgot the instant I walked out of the room, how everyone would forget you, how the fireflies would make them, how for the last 3 years you'd been alone. Your story was very hard to believe, so I didn't. I asked what reality prank show I was on. You looked, well, unimpressed. You asked me to continue telling my story. I was caught off guard by the non sequitur. You said the last time I was here, I was telling you a story, a horror story about a haunted house. As you detailed the story, goosebumps prickled my skin. It was a story I'd been making up in my head, a story I hadn't told anyone yet. At that moment, a million reactions were open to me, all simultaneously adequate and inadequate. But the only thing that seemed proper was to finish the story for you, so I did. Halfway through, you interrupted me to ask if my mother had recovered from her sickness yet. I had to shake my head, a bit ashamed at the fact that I shared this private matter to a stranger. The story ended a few minutes before recess. My next class was in another room. You told me to go. Your steadiness took me back. You seemed so accepting of your fate, like you'd already gotten used to the idea of being forgotten forever. I was a kid back then. I wasn't a particularly smart kid, and I was probably on the onset of a crush, so you can excuse what I did next as an example of my childhood stupidity. I grabbed my scissors, pressed it against my arm's skin, and dug in. As it drew blood, I pushed it forwards till the cut forms the shape I wanted. Letter by letter, I carved your name into my arm. Just so you... Let me try that again. Just so you know, I don't regret that. Don't get me wrong. Kid power might have made me do it, but it sure as hell didn't make the pain go away. It was one of the most painful experiences of my life. But even then, as a kid, I thought what was happening to you was unfair. I remember how your eyes looked when you saw that, the confusion, how strange it was for you that anyone would want to remember. I remember that look so clearly. Then I woke up the next day and saw your name on my arm. I remembered you. I didn't forget. That day, for the first time, we'd had a conversation that wasn't so one-sided. You said that no one had ever done anything like that before and suggested I might have a mental illness. I won't deny it. That drew a little blood, and as we talked, a creeping thought came through my head. Did you prefer it when I didn't remember? That night, I was sitting up in my bed, staring at your name on my arm, wondering if I should cover it up so I couldn't see it and give you back your privacy. When I heard a crash, I looked up to see my bedroom window shattered and a dirty rock on my floor. I looked out of the cracked window and saw a dark figure on my lawn. You were outside yelling about how we should hang out. It took me a while to get used to how bad you were at talking to people. Years without practice made you a bit rusty. That was all right. We had a lot of time. For the next 2 years, we spent the most of our free time together. Most of the time we talked. You'd tell me an aspect of your life and how you lived. You still stayed in your old house. Your parents never noticed the food gone missing, never noticed an extra room. And you'd stolen the extra keys. One night I confided in you that I was beginning to think you were part of my imagination, Fight Club style. After all, what could I do to you that I couldn't do to myself? I remember the next month or so trying to leave little bite marks on my ear or neck to prove a point. I still have some on my ear, so I guess you did. Looking back, I could see the warning signs even then. Your skin seemed to get worse and worse, paler and paler. You'd rub your eyes raw. It was in the winter. We had our wake-up call. The morning began like any other. I woke up, brushed my teeth, and started to search for clothes to wear. It was winter morning, and I took my room. It was winter morning, and my room was dark, so I didn't see your name on my arm. The cold sent shivers through my body, and I pulled out a long-sleeved jacket. A small bell rang in my head. Don't you usually roll your sleeves up? Yeah, but why would I? That was annoying. I finished up tidying up and headed to school. On the school bus, I felt oddly content, like something I'd been worrying about just had disappeared. I walked up the school stairs, down the hall, through my classroom door, and sat down on my desk. The same feeling of burden, forgotten, haunted my mind. What was I forgetting? When recess came, I just sat at my desk while my classmates ran out. It felt like a ritual. but I didn't know what for. I was contemplating just walking out to join them when I heard it. There was something small in the wind like a whisper, but it came out over and over, incessant. It sounded like my name. I knew this was strange, and this was worth my attention, but I felt oddly calm. Everything would be all right. Everything would be fine. Just ignore it. You sat there on my desk, my mind a war zone between two conflicting, contradictory voices. When I felt a force tugging on my sleeve, the moment I noticed this, my jacket sleeves tore open. I saw your name on my arm, and your hand that had ripped my jacket open. You had been yelling at me for over 20 minutes. I think that was the moment I realized how on edge our friendship really was. One accident away from complete erasure. We spent most of the next year in the town library together trying to find out what the fireflies were. It wasn't really a problem for me. Because of my mother's treatment, my family couldn't afford to go on any trips, so our house didn't have heating anymore. So I was happy to spend my time with you. Trying to find information was a puzzle in itself, after all. How could I read about people I couldn't remember? And how could you find out who was special when no one could even remember enough about them to record them? We found in old family trees and records. Individually, we'd write down names of everyone in the book on 2 lists. Then we would compare. The names I hadn't remembered to write down, but you had, would come to focus. They were the names who were under the curse of the fireflies. We had compiled a list of suspicious books. Books we thought could help us because they were written by or were about people who we were searching for. I'd read the books with the list of the names side by side, reading it again, every page of the book. You'd sure the internet. It's written funny, so I'm sorry, I'm trying this again. You'd sure the internet on the library computers. You'd search the internet on the library computers. I got that. For the articles about your. You'd search the internet on the library computers for articles about the people. Our search would lead us to the first glimpse we got of what really was happening to you. It was late at night when you found the picture. I was a bit drowsy at that time and almost about to nod off when I heard a sharp intake of breath. I turned to see you standing up, pointing at the screen. I didn't see anything noteworthy. On the screen was a picture of a clearing somewhere in the woods. You held up your piece of paper where you had marked out 2 names. Susie Appleby Regan, 13. Terry Appleby Regan, 12. Siblings. For a moment, I saw the paper and the screen side by side, and then I saw them. 2 figures emerging from the woods towards the camera. They were almost humanoid, but all 5 limbs stretched into nightmarish proportions. Blank white skin, pure albino, that looked more like tree bark than anything on a mammal. A cloud of fireflies surrounded the duo. The shorter one looked emaciated. I could see the rib cages around which their eyes, God, their eyes, so small, so red. The longer one, with their white hair didn't look alive anymore. They were just skin wrapped around skeletons. Their empty eye sockets had fireflies swarming out of them. Both reached for the cameraman. I looked at the article surrounding the picture. It was a blog post by a hiker 20 years after the two kids had been written about last. The picture was a mystery to the cameraman as well. He had been wanting to go to the woods picture for a while now. But he had never actually remembered what he was doing there. The picture had just appeared in his camera one day out of the blue. For a moment, I looked at your face, your thin, pale face with those red, veined eyes. Would that be when my scar faded? Just a walking horror I'd glimpse, then forget? We'd worked through our reading list at a much faster pace, starting from that moment. Maybe we should have gone slower. At least every book, every website we had left untouched promised hope. The books we finished and tossed aside promised nothing but the clearing in the woods as your future. And we tossed aside a lot of books. I believe I tore through 3/4 of my reading list before I stumbled across the journal. Oh God, that horrible, horrible journal. The journal used to belong to a mental patient named Joey, who claimed to be a serial killer. He was locked up in an asylum when the police discovered his supposed victims never existed. He was diagnosed with the need for attention and shoved away. They should have electrocuted him. They should have fried him until his flesh melted and his hair burned. In his journal, he talked about how he carried out these killings. He knew things, bizarre and disturbing things no one else knew. He knew of strange creatures that lived in the woods. Of them, his favorite were the fireflies. I'm not going to tell you how he summoned these things. I trust you. I trust you more than anyone. But a thing like this belongs on the ground more than it will ever be to a human mind. It's sufficient to know that these things were not fireflies. Joey would start his ritual by taking a kid, anyone he'd like. He would take them at any time, the dead of night in their own homes, or broad daylight in front of yards. It didn't matter if he was seen. He'd take them to his house and drag them to a room. Usually, an Amber Alert came up now and then. He didn't care. Like I said, it wouldn't matter soon. He'd drag them to a special room in his house. Here, the fireflies would come and latch onto them. Now, nobody was searching for the kids. Not the police, not the parents, nobody. From then on, he could do whatever he wanted to the kid. He'd get bored of them after a day or two, after the child had broken, and then the kid would go too. Hacksaw, kitchen knife, anything would work. He detailed a large pit of bodies he kept in the woods, swarming with the bugs. I guess he'd gotten bored of that one too, one day. So one day he went right to the police station and turned himself in. Not of guilt. No. He just wanted someone to know about the stuff he was doing. Sick bastard. Oh, don't get the wrong idea. He had never stopped killing kids. The asylum doors didn't stop him from doing what he liked. It just made him improvise. He made a new way. He modified the flies so he could survive without a host, just in a dormant state. When a child, he specified the age, would approach the swarm, it would latch on and begin its effect. Over the years, the child would warp horribly into the things he saw in the woods. I wish I could hate him in peace. I wish I could say the world owed him nothing, but that wouldn't be true. He detailed a way out. On the final page was an exact explanation on how to get rid of the fireflies. You must have seen something on my face. At that moment, you asked if I had found anything. I said no and closed the book. A few minutes later, you shut down the computer, you picked up the last book, you went through it yourself, and you reached the end of the cover and you tossed it aside. I asked what we should do now. You said it was all right, I could go home. We'd talk about it in the morning. I stood up and walked past the shelves of the books. I headed for the library entrance, but stopped right outside the door and waited. I waited until I heard the sniffling sounds. I sneaked back to our table, and you were quietly sobbing. You had your head in your hands. I sat back down as you raised your eyes to me. You said you'd wish you'd never met me, and how happy you were when you had nothing to lose. How I ruined your life. You'd never really gotten better at talking to people. That was the worst love confession I'd ever heard. I remember how we kissed that night. I remember your hands gripping my hair. I remember that kiss. I wish it could have been just a kiss. I'm sorry I ruined that moment when my arms were around you. I was close enough to steal a firefly without you noticing. I remember holding the fireflies in my hand. I remember how it struggled until it didn't, until it was a part of me. The fireflies shifted. They came over to me and left you. I remember the familiar look in your eyes, the confusion. I never wanted to see that confusion in your eyes ever again. You deserved to be loved, and you deserved to know that. I wasn't really living anyway. You reached for me. I pulled away as the last lights of recognition faded from your eyes. And then you were just staring at a stranger, walking away into a crowd of strangers. That was a year ago. You had gotten so much better since then. You had so many friends now, so many people at your birthday party. You also look so much healthier. I haven't been as fortunate. My skin's gotten a lot paler, and my eyes hurt all the time now. I couldn't go to school like you did all those years. I haven't wasted my time though. I found Joey's pit. The bodies. There were so many bodies. There's a grave for those children now. Without me, my mom couldn't afford her surgery. She looked so happy. Just yesterday, I saw her playing with my baby brother. I saw you crying yesterday. You were with your friends, laughing. For a brief moment, your eyes met mine, and they were so wet. I think I'm going away. For good, I think. You're not going to be happy if I stick around. I am so happy I met you, even if you don't remember me. Note end. Sometimes I go through the depressive episode. I feel so lonely, even with my friends. I don't know what's going through my head during these times. And sometimes I'd end up in a bathtub, a knife in my hands and my wrists were bleeding. Up till now, I thought I was cutting my wrists. I wasn't. The cuts, they're letters. I've been carving a name into my arm. I like that story. That was a healthy one. It says 12 minutes, but it's like 50 minutes to finish it. Do I still got people here? Yeah, there's people. What's up, guys? Yeet! I just spelled yeet backwards. Yeah, that was it made sense at the end. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was happening. It wasn't so creepy, but it was what it was, right? It's almost breakfast time for me. I'm glad you like that. Let's see what else we find. If you don't like any of these stories, you can click on the links that I give you and vote them. Happy Breakfast Day? Oh, I mean, what? So, what? This one's 22 minutes. I feel like that'd be 4 hours long. I can close some of these windows. There we go. I didn't say Brexit. I said breakfast. 67 minutes. That'll take 4 years. 20 years. Oh. It's because you can read like 600 words a minute, but you don't speak that much. No. Turn it off. I get excited when I see a title. I'm like, that looks good. Oh no, it's too long. Brexit sucks. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, we'll read this one. This story is called 1999. The year is 1999. That sentence brings me back to my senior year, kindergarten class. The year is 1999. That sentence brings me back to my senior kindergarten class when I was 5 years old, where we used to read out the date on the blackboard every single day. The year 1999 exists as a strain in my mind. However, as a memory that will not go away no matter how hard I try to forget 1999. Marked the year I lost my first tooth, my first time on a plane, and unfortunately, the early loss of my childhood innocence. That one memory that refuses to be wiped. It all started with that new or old TV. At that time, Pokemon was the latest fad to hit school. Pokemon cards. Pokemon cards, game stickers, and the most popular, the TV shows. So of course, every time I came home from school, I would stay glued to the TV until Pokemon came on at 5. The only problem was that my dad watched the news at 5:30. The Pokemon episodes were back to back, which meant I had to miss an episode every single day. Something I whined on and on about. My dad got tired of hearing me complain every day. That must be why he went and bought me another TV. My dad just put the TV he bought me in my room. Unfortunately, it was just an old, small boob tube with rabbit ears even. It also had 20 channels available, not including the channel Pokemon was on. I recall I didn't care though. I was just thrilled that I had my own TV in my room. After surfing through the channels, I came to the conclusion that the only channel 2, TVO Kids, was worth watching. So I watched that for a while. It wasn't for a few months until I discovered Channel 21. One day in April, I was flipping through the channels, trying to see if Pokemon was on. I pressed Channel 21 on the remote, hoping that there were more channels. To my delight, there was. My dad was surprised too, but he let me watch it because it seemed to have kids programs on. The channel was called Catalon Local 21, and later I found out it was indeed broadcasted from a town of Catalon, Ontario, a town very close to my city. The shows I saw on Catalon Local looked poorly made. I never understood what was going on in them half the time. However, as I grew up, every time I thought of that channel, I realized more and more of how messed up the shows were. And I had to ask myself, what the was I watching? The following is a list of shows and episodes I remember seeing on Caledon, Local 21. How I remember such detail even disturbs me, but I guess things like this stand out in your mind for a while. The channel only ran a few shows, probably because it was only operational between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. April 1999. Mr. Bear's Cellar, Episode 12. Very sketchy name if you were to look at it nowadays. The show featured a guy wearing a bear mascot costume who would get a new visitor into his cellar every day. It was always a kid. The show was filmed with a camcorder, and not a very good one either. The police asked me a lot of questions about this show. This episode started with Mr. Bear sitting at a table playing checkers by himself. He sat there playing for a bit until there was a knock at the door. The camera was then looking up at the stairs at the door. There was another knock. Mr. Bear climbed the stairs and opened the door to reveal two young children. One boy about my age, and the other was a girl who looked about 8. Mr. Bear danced in delight, and then he started talking to the kids. I couldn't hear any of them that well. I remember Mr. Bear then led the kids down into the cellar, which was quite dark, only lit by a small oil lamp on the table. I can't really remember more than that, except him singing a song, which I could hear too well. I couldn't hear too well either. Probably because of the large bear mask. The episode ended with them playing hide and seek, with the kids hiding in a closet and Mr. Bear counting. May 1999. The Soup and Spoon. I don't think this was even a show. I think it was more of a special movie thing. All I know is I stopped watching Caledon Local 21 for a while because I thought this show was too stupid, especially since Pokemon now came on at 4:30 and 5. I don't remember much of this, but it showed a can of soup and a spoon both attached to strings swinging back and forth, as if someone was holding them and dangling them in front of the camera. Interesting though, the show was shot in the basement, which looked just like the one Mr. Bear's cellar. Like I said, I can't remember much. The only thing I can remember clearly was the end. The entire thing was only half an hour, and just included stuff I found stupid, such as the spoon chasing the soup around trying to eat him. The ending showed a table and about 7 kids sitting around it, each with a bowl of soup in front of them. They were sitting and looking at the camera, but with confused, almost frightened faces. The cameraman then held the can of soup in front of the kids and said, "Spoon's ready!" And then it just stopped. This is disgusting. July 1999. It was summer, and I hadn't watched the Channel 21 for a while, until one day, when I slept over at my friend's house, I decided to check it out again. My friend had gotten a TV on his room for his 6th birthday, so we stayed up very late. For us, 9:30 was very late, and we watched the TV. That was when I remembered Channel 21 and brought it up to my friend. We decided to see what was on, and to our surprise it was. They must have made a change to the broadcasting time. Mr. Bear's Cellar, Episode 23. This episode was entertaining for my friend and me, mainly because it had swearing. However, now when I think of this episode, I realize something was definitely wrong when it was being filmed. The episode started with the camera on its side while it was facing Mr. Bear, who was walking upstairs to the cellar door. The camera then blacked out for a second before fading in, back upright and facing Mr. Bear. There were also another kid talking to him. The kid looked about 11 or 12. He was talking to Mr. Bear for a while, but I couldn't hear very well, again with the crappy camcorder, until the kid started raising his voice. The kid was saying how it was late for his sister and had to go home. You could hear more voices in the background. I remember Mr. Bear clearly saying, "Get the F out, you're not invited," in a deep voice muffled by the bear mask. I remember my friend and I looked at each other and laughed at the mention of the forbidden F word. But the episode got weirder. The kid began climbing the stairs before turning around and saying how he's going to call the police. Mr. Bear breaking into a run towards the kid, who started screaming and running as well. The camera then cut out. And that was the end of the episode. The channel then turned into static shortly after. I'm an autiste. I'm sorry. August 1999. I didn't want to watch Channel 21 after that. In August, I grew more curious to see Mr. Bear's cellar. For some reason, though, the last episode I saw Mr. Bear was weird and had swearing, which also made me think how the show was meant for teenagers. Nevertheless, I flipped the channel onto Channel 21 when my dad was busy. Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 28. Apparently, this episode had been playing an entire month of August. It was studied a lot by the police. The entire episode was Mr. Bear sitting in a chair talking to an audience. "Hello, kids. Do you want to visit my cellar? If you do, please write a letter to me at this address." The screen then switched to a white screen with multicolored letters reading the address. And that's what remained for the rest of the episode. This repeated for 5 hours every day until September came. And guess what I actually did? I sent Mr. Bear, or that sick bastard who portrayed him, a letter. I did it out of curiosity mostly. My dad was okay with it because he thought it was a legit kids show. But then again, he never saw any of what was on Channel 21. So I wrote a letter using my best writing possible. I think I just said how I wanted to see Mr. Bear. So my dad sent the letter to the address. Mr. Bear said on the show it stayed on all day anyway for some reason. It took the letter a week to get a response, which I was surprised it did. Thank you so much for your letter. I would love to have you in my cellar. We play games, watch movies, and go fire camping in the middle of the woods. Come to my house at, the police cut out the address, Caledon, Ontario, Canada. I look very forward to having fun with you. Love, Mr. Bear. I cannot believe my dad never found this sketchy, because he actually took me to the house. And that's when the police became involved. Those endless questions, those pictures of terrified kids, the woods. That brings me to why I'm writing this blog. That psycho and his friends did some effed up back then. And now it seems he's trying to get in contact with me again. The entire police thing is coming back. That has brought back 1999 to me. Over a decade later, it is happening again. November 14th, 2009. People have been emailing me, asking me what exactly happened in 1999. I will get to that. Those weird TV shows I was watching apparently were meant to attract kids to Mr. Bear's house. What Mr. Bear did shocked the entire town. My dad actually drove me to Caledon along with the address to Mr. Bear's left on the letter. The house was actually on the outskirts of town in open farmland. I still remember that house. It looked like an old farmhouse that looked to have been built in the early 1900s. The windows were all boarded up, and the house looked in a state of disrepair. As we walked up to the house, I remember my dad checking the address over and over again, looking at the house in disbelief. Then the door opened. I expected Mr. Bear to be at the door, but I was surprised to see a police officer emerge from the creaking doorway. The officer began to talk with my dad, while I quickly asked if there was Mr. Bear in the house. The officer's face cringed slightly, and he muttered, "Oh God," or something like that. He started talking quietly to my dad, so I couldn't hear, although my dad told me to go to the car anyways. And then we just went home. My dad was quiet the whole way home. I felt something strange had happened. My dad never told me what happened for a while. I forgot about it anyways too. Channel 21 no longer came on, and when I asked about it, my dad would not acknowledge its existence. I think it was when I was 13 when I learned the truth. I remembered Channel 21 one day and asked my dad about it. He finally decided I should hear the truth. Caledon Local 21 was a local TV channel. Ran from October 1997 to August 20. Hey Marlana. Sorry. Caledon Local TV, Local 21 was a local TV channel that ran from October 1997 to August 1999 in the Peel region of Ontario. The entire channel was made from a house in Caledon, the one I visited, and run by a man who was not really known by anyone in the town. The channel was only available to older TVs because the signal was only picked up by rabbit ears, weaker frequency. The man created all the shows on the channel, all of which were kids shows. He was Mr. Bear, and he was the mysterious cameraman. The real reason he created the channel was more disturbing than what was originally thought. As you might have already guessed, he kidnapped kids and held them in his cellar. But while most people thought he was a serial child molester, he really wanted to use the kids for another purpose. The day I arrived, the man had fled the house the night before. The day before, the police went into their investigation. I wasn't the only one who was watching. December 2nd, 2009. Update. Sorry for not answering any questions for so long. I haven't accessed my email account for some time. Anyway, Let me set things straight about what I know. Back in October, I visited the house previously owned by the man who ran Caledon Local 21. Two women lived there, operating the daycare business. How ironic. Now to answer the question you guys emailed me. Who else watched Caledon Local 21? Answer. I know other people watched it for sure, including those kids who wound up in Mr. Bear's house. After some Google searches, I found a few other on the NeoSeeker forums who were discussing shows on Local 21. They talked about the two shows I watched, but also another two shows I had never seen before. A user named I Am Real Life seemed to know all the shows that were on broadcast on Channel 21. Here are the two I've never heard of. The Fallen Angel and Life. I Am Real Life described it as a fairly boring show about a guy rambling on in front of a camera about how we must please Satan and appease him before it's too late. Paint with the Soul. I Am Real Life, another user called Siggy92 were discussing the show. They described it as Blair Witch-like, as it consisted of the cameraman wandering through the forest at night, doing nothing particularly interesting. I'll go looking through the conversation and see if I can get the link. Where is Mr. Bear, or the guy who was in the costume? If I did know, I would have said earlier. I have no idea where the guy is, or if he's dead or alive. Hopefully dead. When I see my dad's friend next time, I'll ask him about this. Maybe I can get a more defined answer. What did Mr. Bear do to the children? This is by far the most common question I have been asked. I found this out in October as well via my dad's friend, who is retired Caledon regional officer. Apparently, the man playing Mr. Bear took the kids out of the house into the forest nearby. What he did there, police aren't exactly sure how it happened, but 16 charred bodies from children between the ages of 4 to 13 were found in a 15 by 15 foot ditch deep within the forest. My dad's friend did not want to go into exact details, but I'm seeing him next Thursday anyway, so maybe I can extort more information from him then. That's all I have for now. Thanks for keeping an interest in my blog. I'll try to gather as much information as I can for my next post. I've really been getting pretty interested in this myself. It should be my right to know what the hell happened. Update January 14th, 2010. I'm sorry I haven't posted anything for a while. I've kind of lost interest in this whole blog since I hit a standstill while looking for more information on the identity of the owner of Caledon Local 21. However, a few weeks ago I struck gold. I found some answers surprisingly from the father of a kid I used to babysit. He lives just across the street from me, and I used to look after his kids when they were younger. He currently doesn't have a job either. He used to live near the woods outside Caledon and witnessed the owner's activities in the woods. His name is Anthony Polo. When he lived in the small bungalow outside the woods, he would often venture into smoke a joint of marijuana or two before returning his work as a wood craftsman. Polo described what sometimes would hear voices of children coming from deeper within the woods, as well as glowing light off in the distance. Polo often told me these events started in late 1997, Note this was around the time Caledon Local 21 began airing. He apparently became annoyed by this, happening every once in a while, to actually went on an investigation. Holo then described what the whole scene looked like when he got there. There was a group of kids, he said, about 13 or 17, all ages 5 to 12, gathered around a large fire pit with a burning fire. With them was a single adult. Polo talked to the man, nothing unusual, unkempt appearance of a crack addict, as well as his constant nothing his unusual, unkempt appearance of a crack addict, as well as unkempt and twitching, and asked what he was doing out in the forest with the children. The man said they were going on a camping trip, something they did frequently. Polo, not suspecting anything, Caledon was one of the lowest crime rates in Canada, simply left it at that, told them to be quieter. Polo then paused for a while before telling me that they never became quieter. In fact, sometimes he heard loud chanting from the children in an unknown language. He didn't bother meeting the man again as he was moving away. I told Polo that the man was probably the owner of Caledon Local 21, but he doubted it, as he heard the man was moving to Pickering by several other residents in that area. Here's what I know now. The man would take kids in the woods regularly for camping. The fire pit Polo described may be a hole where the bodies of the children were found in. The children Polo saw were probably the ones found dead. The man moved to a city called Pickering, a smaller city east of Toronto. I will discuss this with my dad's friend, ex-cop, and see if this matches anything the police knew about the man. I also wanted to see if he has any other knowledge of what was aired on Caledon Local 21. Update, February 10th, 2010. Good news, guys. I talked to my dad's friend, and he disclosed a lot more information for me. First, I asked the police if they had any other information on the man who ran the channel. He replied that they only have the same leads for years and never found a suspect. However, the Peel Regional Officer do have some of the tapes found in the house the Local 21 was broadcasting from. He took me over so I could watch a few. I guess I haven't said much about him yet. My dad's friend is named Mitchell Wilson, a pretty nice guy. He seemed to understand my thirst for knowledge on what was happening during the late 90s in that house. He feels it was wrong that my dad went so long without telling me much. He took me to the Davis Road Police Station, if you don't know, the largest station in Caledon, and one of the largest within Peel region itself. Each of the main stations around Peel have some of the tapes. I was able to watch all of the footage that Davis region stations had. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to take the tapes home for obvious reasons. Paint with Soul, Episode 10, Garbage Thrown Away. Paint with Soul was one of the shows that I Am Real Life and Siggy 92 were discussing on Neoseeker. I told the police about this, and they informed me that there were 12 episodes of the show were made, and broadcast between them were December 5th, 1997 and January 8th, 1998. Exactly as I Am Real Life and Siggy 92 described. The episode opened with the cameraman wandering around the forest. It appeared to be during an event, as it seemed the sun was setting. The cameraman walked along a path until he got to an area where there was a lot of garbage lying on the leaves. The cameraman looked around the various wrappers, bottles, bags, and boxes, making sure each item got a few seconds of screen time. The camera then focused on a single area before the man spoke. I recall he spoke in a very timid, quiet voice. I swear I've heard it somewhere else before, like on another Caledon Local 21 show. I could barely hear what he was saying, but he mainly talked about how humans are garbage, or something like that, that had to do with saving ourselves by cleaning up the garbage. It actually sounded really stupid, but still, a feeling of dead came over me. I mean, that forest was probably where those bodies were found, right? Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 25. When the police administrator brought me this tape in, I actually said, "Oh, I chuckled a bit out loud. Of course, I got stares from the staff, but Wilson explained to them about my little experience with Mr. Bear and how I had kept the letters he sent me. Like the previous episode, this one included a guy wearing a bear mascot costume. The episode began with Mr. Bear waddling over to his cellar door with a bottle of orange juice in his paws. On the ground were 16 shot glasses as well as a small bottle that contained an unknown liquid. Mr. Bear poured an equal amount of orange juice into each glass before opening the smaller bottle and depositing one drop into each glass. Mr. Bear then went off camera. There were some minor sounds, such as scuffling, and then Mr. Bear emerged from behind the camera's location. Following him were 16 children. Some looked as young as 4, while the others looked like they were practically teenagers. As the children entered, the administration commented that this is the only episode that showed all 16 victims. The kids all looked rather content, except for this one who had a visible bruise on his face. And unlike the other kids, he had a more fearful expression. He also looked 11 or 12, which caused me to recognize him. He was the kid who had asked about his sister and subsequently met an unknown fate at the end of episode 23. That one episode I watched during July 1999. When I told the administrator this, he confirmed it was the same kid. He was also featured in episode 24, an episode that only aired once at 3 in July 1999. The police have still not found the tape. Mr. Bear then broke into song, singing about citrus fruits and how good vitamin C was for you. I could barely hear the lyrics as they were muffled by the bear's mask. The kids all drank their juice, the one from episode 23 doing it rather reluctantly, and the episode ended. After reviewing the tapes in possession of the Davis Road Police Station, I'm satisfied, but only temporarily. I still want to know the full story. The police just keep giving me the same crap about the creator of the Caledon 21 being a fetishist pedophile, as well as an apparent cultist. I will sign off for now, get into university first, and get information later. Hopefully, I will get back to this blog as soon as possible. Oh, we're only like halfway done, guys. Oh, I want to take a break and go smoke. But I'll be okay. Update. May 8th, 2010. Last month, I finally got my G2 license in Ontario, Canada. This allows you to drive a car all by yourself, as well as with some passengers after 6 months. I, of course, took advantage of this and drove into Caledon for a little Sunday drive. Since I haven't updated this blog in a while, I figured I might as well visit the house where the infamous channel was my childhood was located. The house looked different than what I saw in October. The place was no longer used as a daycare and sat there abandoned. However, it did have a for sale sign showing off that someone still owned it, wanting to get rid of it though. The abandoned house drew fuzzy memories from my mind, mainly of that day my dad took me to visit Mr. Bear. A feeling of dread came upon me. What happened to the children while they were living in that house? I walked up the steps to the front door and peered through the window. Inside, I could see a nearly empty hallway with a few boxes at the end. At the end of the hallway to the right, At the end of the hallway to the right was an open doorway, presumably leading to the kitchen. To the left were two doors, both apparently leading to the rooms visible through the windows outside. I wondered where the cellar entrance was located and whether it had been sealed up. I walked around to the back of the house and found my answer. Two wooden doors lying at almost a flat angle were padlocked shut. This had led to the cellar. Not wanting to hang around, you cannot imagine what was going through my mind at the time. I departed. Behind the house, the empty field continued on, and it reached a dense forest that lined the horizon. I wondered if the forest where the bodies of the children were found. I thought to myself, F it. Proceeded to walk across the field behind the house into the forest. The forest was oddly quiet, save for a few periodic sounds of woodpeckers drilling into a distant tree. I cautiously made my way deeper into the woods, not really caring about the fact that I had no idea where I was going. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like there was something I had to find. I came to a thinner part of the woods and a small house in the distance. Polo's house crossed my mind, and I wondered if one of these homes had belonged to him. I neared a small clearing in which I could see 3 adequate-sized logs gathered around a black charred area, showing a small fire had been lit recently. "Hey, get the F out of our fort!" Those words nearly gave me a heart attack. I turned to my left and saw 2 dark-clothed people running towards me. My initial thought was to run. However, as they came closer, I saw they were really just kids in their early teens, possibly 13 or 14, maybe even 12. As they approached me, they realized my size as well. I'm 6'1". While they couldn't have been no bigger than 5'8", the other one might have been 5'7". "We said get the F out," the larger one of the two, wearing a Slipknot shirt, said half-heartedly. I stood my ground and shrugged. The shorter one, who was wearing a Metallica shirt, swung out a butterfly knife and held it in my direction. "No, you wouldn't want to," I said in a deep, serious tone, trying to sound as badass as possible. I pulled out my cell phone. The 2 kids withdrew, one with a Metallica shirt, putting away the knife. "Look, dude, we don't like people in our fort, so can you just go?" the one Slipknot shirt said, obviously intimidated. I had no business in the forest anyways, so I uttered out a simple fine before I realized I had a great opportunity. Did either of you hear about a guy who murdered a bunch of kids in these woods about 13 years ago? I asked the kids. The two looked at each other in confusion before the one wearing the Metallica shirt answered, "Yeah, everyone knows about that guy," he said to me, as if I were stupid. The kid in the Slipknot shirt continued, "He still lives around here in the storm drain. My big brother's friends say they saw him in a bear costume once, wandering around the forest at night." My instincts told me that it was probably a lie, and the owner of the Caledon 21 is probably long gone, only existing in folklore, as folklore in the small, isolated community. However, as a human, they thought of a mysterious unknown spark interest within. "And there's a storm drain?" I asked, just out of curiosity. I don't actually believe the kid's story. The kid in the Metallica shirt stared at me for a few moments, his eyes seemingly full of annoyance, yet curiosity for me. "You're not from here, are you? Why the hell did you even come here?" Now, I do admit I was slightly startled by the nature of the question. However, I figured I might as well explain myself while I was there, just in case people mistook my intentions. I told the kids about my experience with the man, and that I had come to seek out some sort of closure, although I wasn't even exactly sure. The kids seemed to be familiar with the channel as they smiled and looked at each other when I mentioned it. They also became more interesting and gave me a detailed description on how to get to the storm drain. Shortly after, I decided to turn around and come the way I'd came and head back to the house, leaving the kids at their fort. But now you're probably wondering why I left such a detail out of what the kids told me just now. It's because I'm choosing to conclude what I'm gathering now. Here's what the kids told me in detail. The storm drain leads ahead of the kids' fort in the same direction I was heading. The drain ends at a small river where excess water is drained out. Near there is a small playground. The kids told me people rarely use it. The man supposedly lives in the large pipe the rainwater drains out of. People have seen him, although always either wearing a bear mask or the mask in a full bear costume. Note, I don't believe this is true, and in fact, simply a myth made by the residents of Caledon. The story does not seem plausible in any way. Why did no one call the police? Did this guy look suspicious? And other questions like these leave the story invalid. I may visit the storm drain not because I believe the story, but because I want an excuse to visit Caledon again. So this blog doesn't die. With no more tapes to watch, I don't know what to talk about anymore. Thanks for continuing to support me with my blog. I know many of you are looking forward to more information about what happened in Caledon during the year of 1999, and I will do my best to continue to research this topic. Elliot out. Alright, I have to take a pause real quick. I'm going to go smoke. We're a little more than halfway done, so stand by. This is a short commercial break. That is enough of that. All right. All right, so let's get back to this story. I have to warn you guys that in 15 minutes I'm probably going to be taking another break to go get breakfast. I'm sorry, but I got to do it. I'm hungry. Or maybe after the story. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Update. October 7th, 2010. Wow. Nearly 5 months since I updated last. I'm guessing everyone pretty much thinks I was dead, right? Thankfully I'm not. But in all seriousness, I've been really busy these last few months. And a blog about something that could have killed me as a kid is a little low on my list of current priorities. As of now, I am living in Waterloo, Ontario, attending the University of Waterloo for computer engineering. Yeah, I'm a keener. As you can imagine, engineering is no walk in the park. So obviously, I nearly forgot about this blog. But as you can see, I'm back. I remembered to visit the storm drain the kids from Caledon Forest told me about. It was in a clearing between the wooded areas, nearby a marsh. Unfortunately, I found absolutely nothing save for a turtle that retreated into his built-in home when he saw me. I snapped some pics of the pipe, which I have posted as well. Also, let me tell you, it was not a storm drain like they said it was. What I saw was a simple pipe, possibly to channel the excess water from the marsh. When I returned from Caledon, however, I kept putting off uploading everything until I forgot all about my blog. It just didn't seem important to me anymore. Please forgive me. It wasn't until only recently that I'm now interested in the case again. On September 10th, I received an email from this email address, return of the bee at Hotmail. Funny, am I right? Well, it gets better. I'm going to copy and paste the exact email this guy sent me. Let me charge my phone. All right. Dear Elliot, my dear baby boy. You see, this story may or may not be true, but it could happen. There are many slots of airtime. If you have money, you can have public access TV channel. Some public access channels share airtime, like EWN, religious channel based out of Michigan that shows Catholic-based programming, but during off-air hours have independent shows or just blue screen. Cable networks have empty channels available for rent space. So the scenario of a pedo renting a channel on a basic TV is not far-fetched at all. However, public access TV is widely reviewed and can be terminated at any time. These are the rules of the United States, not for Canada, where this story takes place. So if this happened in the US, the pedo would have been tracked and arrested immediately. Yes, this story could happen, but it is unlikely. 100 fuzzy hugs, Mr. Bear. Now obviously this letter is fake and sounds almost corrupted, but still, I would like to thank whoever sent it, though they could use some English lessons. Oh, I fixed those. There's a lot of spelling errors. I had to. Though they could use some English lessons. Just reading this letter creeped me out. But because of it, I am now full of this new interest to continue my blog. I guess it's just funny trying to pursue the mysteries I always questioned. And now my roommate knows all about this. He thought the letter was real and actually seemed more scared than I was for a second. But then I shrugged it off, and so did he. I mean, what are those chances of this being real? And how would Mr. Bear know all of this about public access TV? And about when I went to Caledon on those occasions? More or less know my email, or still be interested in his cellar. Ha! I'm going to send a reply to return the bee. Wow, just looking at the email address, you can tell someone really wanted to freak me out. It didn't really work though, although to whomever you are, thank you for sparking my interest back in this full matter. Maybe I can find out more of what happened to Mr. Bear. Hopefully. Because although I don't buy that email, a part from me still feels anxious. Thanks to you, all those are still following me and have become avid fans. You are also why I'm choosing to continue this. Thanks, guys. Update, November 7th, 2010. Wow, I can't believe this blog hasn't been deleted yet. I haven't posted anything for so long. I have my reasons, and I'd rather not discuss them just yet. It has been a rather traumatic year for me. Some of you were right. I should have gone back trying to relive. Some of you were right. I shouldn't have gone back trying to relive the mysteries of my childhood. But I couldn't resist. It's been over a year since my last post. Not really. It says 2010. Whatever. I'm not gonna. It has been over a year since my last post, and a lot has happened. Let's recap where I'm at now with regards to the whole Mr. Bear incident. Return of the bee at Hotmail is no longer in use. I tried replying to the email, but I got no reply. And then again, a while back, still no response. I've actually moved up to Ottawa, capital of Canada. For those of you who don't know, for university. So I've been back to Caledon for some time, in the Peel region for a while. I had my reasons for leaving, as you could guess why. I've had to make a new email address because people keep prank mailing me, pretend to be Mr. Bear. Thanks a lot, guys. Not. Why have I ventured back into this blog? Mitchell Wilson, remember my dad's ex-cop friend? He gave me a phone call on October 23rd about a tape that was found on a branch of the Brampton Public Library. Brampton is my hometown, in case you haven't picked up on that. He claims he isn't allowed to discuss the contents of the tape with me, as it is still in evidence, but he asked me to come check it out when I return home. That tape got the gears grinding again, because we all know what was on the last tape I saw. I can only imagine what can be on it. I'm guessing it must have something to do with the Caledon Local 21. I just wanted to say I'm continuing this blog. Thank you for everyone who still follows it. But I don't know when my next entry will be. But when I see that tape, I will write what I find. I don't know what to expect, but the idea of seeing another tape has gotten me interested in this whole mystery all over again. Elliot. January 21st, 2011. It has been a long year for me. University has been giving me the usual sleepless nights, especially since I transferred to Ottawa, which is the place to party. Sarcasm. But now I'm back home with my dad in Brampton, the town I grew up in. I got home on the 18th of December and I've been visiting with friends and family. Or at least that's what I would have rather have done. Now that festive holiday cheer that I usually have at this time of the month is absent. To answer the hundreds of emails and comments I got, yes, I did see the tape that my dad's friend Mitchell Wilson promised to show me. These tapes, however, act as a curse. I want to know more, yet I want to forget everything. I couldn't help it. I need to see those tapes. Not only for myself, but for all you guys who are just as intrigued as I am by that ominous man in a bear suit from the past. However, after reviewing those tapes, I feel that pit of dread deep inside me once again. That feeling where I know that all those kids in those videos are dead. That I could have been one of those kids. And that humanity is a dark, dark place. If you haven't skipped this paragraph for the juicier details below, thank you for listening to my rambling. I could have skipped that. Damn it. I should put a little caveat. You don't have to read this. Whatever. On January 1st, I called Mitchell Wilson and asked if there was a time I could come by and view the tapes. Things were pretty slow at the station because of a snowstorm, so he said I could come down anytime that day. The tapes were located at a branch not too far from me. So I braved the slushy roads and terrible Brampton drivers and made my way to the Peel Region Police Station located at the Bramla City Center. I met Wilson at the front desk, where he then led me to the second floor and into a small office. He instructed me to have a seat and wait while he went and got the tapes. Before leaving the office, he turned to me and said, "I know you're curious, but you sure you want to do this?" Of course I did. Or at least I thought so. Besides, Wilson's friend had pulled a lot of strings to get me in there. I didn't want to waste the opportunity. This particular station had 2 tapes on hand. I was only able to watch a few minutes of the footage. However, because the second tape was apparently too damaged to be played on a VCR. Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 30. Mr. Bear never ceases to disturb me, especially after what almost happened when I was younger. This episode took place outside in dark at a forest at dusk, making it slightly hard to see, especially considering the quality of the film, a trademark of anything from Caledon Local 21. The episode started with the camera being held in the paws of Mr. Bear, aiming it at himself. Selfie time. The bear mask, it looked more sinister in the shadows of the trees. This unmistakable muffled voice spoke up. "Hello, children. Today I will be doing a wonderful thing for my friends. I will be delivering them from faraway land, where they will surely be happy." Mr. Bear turned the camera around to show an ATV with an attached trailer. But what stood out the most is a trailer containing 7 motionless children lying side by side. This here is the first load. But there will be more on their way soon. Mr. Bear turned around and pointed the camera at the large burlap tarp spread on the ground. He picked up the tarp, revealing a large hole that must have been 12 feet deep and maybe about 15 feet wide. The rest of the episode consisted of Mr. Bear taking each child and dropping them into the hole. I asked Wilson if they were dead, to which he shook his head and replied, "Not yet." Soon all the kids were in the pit. Some were in awkward positions due to being tossed in, but remained unconscious. "The vitamin C will surely help these children on the great journey that awaits them," Mr. Bear mentioned as he panned the camera towards the multiple bottles of gasoline beside a bush. The camera zoomed into the bottles as Mr. Bear hummed before the episode ended. Wilson revealed to me that these were 7 of the 16 victims found burnt to a crisp. The gasoline is what the man playing Mr. Bear used to light them on fire. A pit full of burning children. Who would do that? That feeling of dread found me once again when I realized that I could have been one of those kids. Wilson then explained to me that he had previously lied. The other tapes confiscated by the Bramwell police station did indeed work and contained the filming of the actual burning. However, he felt I wouldn't be able to handle this disturbing graphic nature of the episode. And you know what? Maybe I can't. I don't even want to see it. I'm satisfied for now. But I just need some time to get myself together. The thing is, the man who ran Caledon Local 21 is still out there. More to come soon, Elliot. Oh, you're gonna go to feeding time? Would you guys be mad if I went and got a... Oh, hang on a second. Let me see how far we are. We're almost done. Yeah, oh. He doesn't want this to be... Oh, this was actually on a blog post. Oh, that's funny. Huh. It's weird. I kind of want to go eat first, but let me see if I can finish this. NRI. Once upon a time, there lived a boy named Elliot. Elliot was a clever boy who loved playing with his friends. One day he watched a lovely television show about a bear and his children friends. The children loved helping each other as good children should, but they also loved the bear. The bear loved the children since the children were so good at helping him and the fallen angel. The children and the bear wanted to play together forever with the help of their angel friend, but the fallen angel needed even more help. So the children had to give the ultimate sacrifice. Because that's what friends do, Elliot. They help each other. Help us, Elliot. Burn with us, Elliot. I want you, Elliot. I want you. He wants you, Elliot. Come back to my cellar, pretty please, with sugar icing on top. Mr. B. My ear just got really itchy. Yeah, let me go eat real quick, guys. I'll bring it back. Let me go get the food, and I'll come back. How many people we got in here? We got 3 people. Yeah, if you want to give me a couple seconds, I'll go down, get food, and come up. Maybe 5 minutes. But alright, I'll be right back. Oh, let me play some regular music, or more regular. That'd be cool. Where's that program? Pretzel. Hey guys. What's going on, Rickety? How you doing? We're reading some 1999. We're getting to the end. It's a healthy story. Real healthy. Oh yeah. But not just any a Texas waffle. 'Cause Texas. Here we go. We're gonna do some fat guy ASMR. Here we go. A waffle is not to scale. That's probably good. Let's be honest. What do you want to eat for the rest of human existence ever? A Texas waffle. That's it. Just a big old Texas waffle. I wonder if I can do this on top of my computer. Or if I can scoot this bad boy back. Yeah, I can scoot it back. We have a couple bites. And really, you don't know. I mean, I could be a giant. Y'all haven't met me in person. This could be like a huge hotel for like giants or something. Never mind. I'll be quiet. I had 2 of these waffles yesterday and that was just too much, so I'm just going to do the 1 today. You gotta eat it while it's hot. Non-discriminatory hotel for giants. Oh. No, this is actually a cheap hotel with a lot of prostitutes in it, from what I understand from the front desk person. I say prostitutes, let me take that back. People of the night. The oldest... Seriously, phone? The oldest business in existence. So while I was down there, I was trying to lock my phone, and it called 911. I was like, ooh, cancel that. And then they called me right back. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. My phone, Yeah, see if I can finish this real quick. They're Go-Gurts. They're Go-Gurts, you know, the ones in the tube. It's not really yogurt, but it is, sort of. They're all frozen and stuff. Oh, look at this. Frozen Go-Gurt versus in-frozen Go-Gurt. This one's all floppy, like you can bend it. Can't really It's crunching. Yeah, whoever the company was that created this waffle iron was a genius because Texas people are a proud folk. We love our state. That person's a millionaire now. I first read that as marred, but that is wrong. Like, did they love it so much they marry the state? Ooh, I feel like I can Google that real quick. No, not really. All right, so we got a story to finish, guys. Update. That light. Oh yeah, she's single. You want her phone number? She's a big girl, but she knows how to party. Update. April 5, 2011. I wanted to update more. I truly did. However, certain circumstances have turned me off the whole Caledon Local 21 thing. I have since had hundreds of emails about the blog and was even contacted with a magazine about my story. Contacted by a magazine. But now is the time to come clean to everyone. Where have I been this entire year? I'm still alive, Bubba. The story of Pandora's box is true, and I opened it. I opened it when I watched the second tape in possession of the Bramwell police station. The other subject I'd like to address is the number of joke/fake emails I've been getting from people claiming to be Mr. Bear. Let's start with the second tape, as that is what traumatized me into stopping my search temporarily. After a few weeks of playing silent, I decided to ask Mitchell Wilson if I could view the infamous second tape that we had talked about. I don't know why, I just felt that viewing that tape would give me some closure. Wilson was obviously reluctant to show me, but I was persistent. He gave me an offer. If I was still interested by the time I turned 20, he would show me the tape. Not being able to do much else, I just played the waiting game. By the time my 20th birthday rolled around, I was definitely still interested in viewing the tape. I gave Wilson a call, during which he admitted that he had hoped I would forget about it, asking him again. But I was not taking no for an answer. If you really don't need to see it, he kept telling me. Oh, you really don't need to you really don't need to see it, he kept telling me. But I did need to see it. I had to at this point. Sure enough, he invited me to Bramwell Branch one Monday afternoon. Having watched every Saw film of a video of an animal slaughterhouse in my ethics class, I was sure I'd be able to handle whatever that tape could throw at me. How naive I was. Mr. Burr's Cellar, episode 31. When Wilson went to collect the tape from the evidence, the officer in charge of the evidence room shook his head at me, his face saying, "What are you doing?" Wilson explained that this tape includes the last known episode of Mr. Bear's Cellar. I rightfully assumed that what I was seeing was the fate of the children, and began to feel a sense of dread. The episode opened inside a forest, the usual one from the previous episodes. This fact took me a while to realize, because it was a night. The trees and leaves just looked like shapes dancing around in the darkness. A faint glow of light was persistent on the right side of the screen, where there wasn't any apparent audio. There wasn't any apparent audio. It appeared to be a windy night, yet the trees weren't making any noises. Slowly the camera began to pan towards the glow, revealing smoke rising from a hole, with the tips of the flames peeking over the top. You gotta... Or use cardboard. Or a fork. There's always a spatula. Or dump it on your hand real fast. I don't know what to tell you, bud. The video okay, here, I'm sorry. Towards a glow, revealing smoke rising from the hole, with the tips of the flames peeking over the top. Wilson paused at this point. Are you willing? Are you sure you want to see this? He asked me. I insisted on it, even though a voice in my head was telling me not to. The video continued. The cameraman moved towards the hole, showing a pit of fire. This was the hole that I had seen in the previous episode, only this time it was filled with shapes. I could see shapes moving around, fluttering, flailing, some motionless. I knew perfectly well what they were. The camera began to adjust to the light. Burning flesh, red, black, a blur of surreal movement and colors. I wish I'd forget what I saw, but you can't forget a scene like this. This was not a horror movie. This was reality. Human beings were being killed in a horrific, horrifying way. Sweet. A fate that I could have potentially met. The video suddenly cut to dawn. The camera was now positioned farther away from the hole. The fire was out, however. There was still smoke rising up. The figure was up ahead. I recognized it right away. The Mr. Bear suit was laid on the ground, empty. It looked just unnerving. The suit was laid out in the shape of a cross. The cameraman did a lap around the suit, treating it like a treasured artifact. Placed at the head of the suit was a sign. In bold letters, INRI was printed. Oh, that was the email, INRI. The cameraman moved back to the end of the suit, zooming into the bear's face. The episode finally ended. I was speechless. It was like a dream. You can't find a lot of terrible things on the internet. Oh, you can find a lot of terrible things on the internet. But I had never seen anything like this. Wilson asked if I was okay, and I replied with a shaky yes. I assured him as we left there I was fine. The video gave me some closure over the whole incident. He didn't seem too confident in me, but he left it at that. He was right, though. I had nightmares for weeks. I gave up. I didn't care about the whole thing anymore. A sick man burned a bunch of kids alive, attracting them with the fake kids TV channel. I could have been one of those victims, yet I'm still here. I suppose I should be grateful, but I feel guilty. I am still here only by pure luck. 10 months later, I'm back, but now I need to address something else. My email has been flooded with messages. Some people ask for more details, some ask if I can upload the tapes. Some people emailing me to claim to be Mr. Bear. First, I cannot get the tapes uploaded as they are A, in police possession as evidence, and B, I have no idea how to transfer VHS to a computer. As for people pretending to be Mr. Bear, you are not fooling me. When you have dozens of people pretending to be the same person, it doesn't work. I've even seen a fake Caledon Local 21 YouTube channel, which is cute, but still not real. Even more annoying is the fact that some people hacked my account just to post up some demented poem about me being on this blog. I'll leave it in the entirety above this one, just to show you guys. I've contacted the webmaster about the entry. Was told it was posted on Halloween. Oh, spooky. Attached to the email, paintwithaB@AOL.com, which I assume is another joke email. I'm over episode 31 now. The images of what I saw will stick with me for a while. But I want to do one last hurrah. I will get in contact with Mitchell Wilson again and hopefully get set up with the tapes in the possession of the Peel police branches. I will try to update you guys as soon as I can. I'm sure this won't take so long. Thanks to everyone who still reads this. Elliot. That's it. It's a long ass story. And I'm all out of cigarettes now. Yeah, it's still on, and I just finished the story. How y'all doing? The simplicity of it all. You're taking a shower. It's not the type of shower you take before a job interview, maybe aiming your cleanliness to impress somebody or someone supposedly worthy of your impression. Nor is it the shower you take after a long workout at the gym or after a jog or after what it is applies to you. No, you're in the bathroom right now, standing under a soothing beam of hot water with wisps of steam spiraling off your back because you've got nothing better to do tonight. Hey Kevin, how you doing? And you like that squeaky clean feeling before hitting the hay. And although this isn't your first shower today, at least you can sleep easy knowing you'll be cleansed of today's many stresses. Soap, shampoo, it's all there, but you don't so much as touch it. For now, you were just letting the water stream filter through your pores, enjoying the simplicity of it all. The lights go out. Startled, your feet squeak on the floor of the shower and you pause to make sure the sound was coming from your own. The sound of water hitting the floor in the dark. You feel as if you're not alone in the room, which is impossible because you're the only one in the house. The sound of the switch had been unmistakable. You stay under it, under the water. Your one and only landmark. Feeling around, your hands make slippery shower tiles. You feel like a mime trapped in a blank box as you fumble for the adjacent wall, then grab the curtain. Finally, something real, something you could touch, that's now in front of you and will stay static as you reclaim your bearings. Outside the shower, something starts choking. You abruptly stop breathing. Strain to hear, it's a gut-wrenching cough that wheezes in and out. Your hand freezes before recoiling back to your torso in shock. And in the middle of the bathwater, rain noisily splashing by your feet, you hear its footsteps inch closer as it struggles to breathe. The thumps of pads on the floor stepping closer. You can do nothing. But press your back against the wet wall behind you in paralysis. To the point where the sounds are less than a foot away, you can remember the curtain being at your own eye level. That's when the lights come on and the choking stops. You shut the water off, all is quiet. You look to either side just in case, remembering all horror movies you've seen in your entire life at this moment. Not a sound except the gurgling of the drain at your toes, sucking down the last of the water calmly like it had been in your head and none of it had happened. You're standing there, dripping wet and naked, when you realize you've got to step out and meet what's there, waiting on the other side of the curtain. I just want to say, hey, I'm a creepy shower monster. You're all squeaky clean. You mind if I eat you? I mean, whatever. All right. Now I want to take a shower. That's fine though. I want to go get smokes. Is what I want to do. Boogity boogity boom. I'm gonna get you. No shower for you. Aw. Hey, someone run into Kevin's bathroom and shut the light off. Start making choking noises. It's daylight out there. You want to shower too? But not now. Hope you make it, Kev. Me too. Oh. I'll get you. Like a cross-eyed monster. That'd actually be kind of terrible. No? Know what? What are you knowing me for? I'm tired and I woke up at midnight. I'm not going to bed right now. Oh yeah, it's sunny. It'll be good. I'm in. Unless the hulking form of the monster can cover windows. Which it probably does, let's be honest. So who do we still got here? It says we got 6 people. We got Tenra, we got Kevin, we got Sianta. Do we still got James? Nope. We're gonna drink a Red Bull here in a little bit. I am so gonna stay up all day. Hey, Scooter. Good luck to you, my friend. Oh. I can stream all day. I can stream some more if you want. What's my hair doing? That's weird. What do you put in? Oh shit! I need to put the do not disturb thing on my door. Now they can't get in. You can scream as much as you want now. Hee hee. Yeah, I could do a 24-hour stream and be awake. Because I've been awake for more than 24 hours quite a few times. Oh man, Sianta. Oh, I wish you had heard that story before that happened. Tell me, you probably wouldn't have cried had the lights shut off after reading that story, even after a failed date. You'd have been like, oh, buddy. Oh, man. The electric company knows when you take a shower. 76 minutes. Not reading that. God. What? How long was 1999? I'll tell you. It said it was. That took about 2 hours. I don't know if it took 2 hours. It took a while. They said it's 29 minutes. Hey, we do have Squidward's suicide. Y'all want to hear about Squidward's suicide? You need some Chappy originals? In the Twitter? I mean, Kevin, let's not be harsh here. Shower beer is your right as an American. I mean, shower beer is amazing. At the end of the day, yeah, I don't see. I don't know what I'm. Oh, yeah. I see the ad. The official beer of drinking in the shower. Yeah, I'm gonna heart it too. Shower beer is great. I thought it was like a myth. I'm not joking. I am not. You get a bottle of beer or whatever, and you get that hot shower. Oh God. It's like I got something in my nose. That's pretty hardcore. You can see me standing there. God damn it, it got wet again. Light it up enough. God damn it, it's wet. That's it. That's exactly how that'd be. I mean, it's not so much the cig being lit because you could cup your hand, but it'd be like water on the side of the cigarette, and you're like, oh, that's gonna turn nicotine colored. It's kind of like when you smoke in the rain. No, Kevin, shower beer. I can't stress it enough. Well, you don't want cigarettes to get wet. They turn in the color of what your lungs turn into, and you don't need to be seeing any of that. Just don't wash your face. First thing I wash is my hair. Always. Those fancy rods. Well, I mean, it would have to cover the whole cigarette. Shotgun your beers in the shower from now on. I mean, don't you just do that just so you don't get beer everywhere? I mean, there's something freeing about hot water hitting your naked skin. It's, yeah, where you're washing your boobs for 25 minutes. No, I get it, Kevin. It's great. Boobs are great. Whatever. Hot water hitting your naked skin and a cold beer. It's just right. I can't. Ooh, what's this? A little curly do. It's just right. No. I've never drank underwater. Oh, now you're gonna make Seanza sad. Poor guy's lonely. So we're gonna read Squidward's Suicide. Whoa, what is this, Tim? You're like blowing our freaking minds here. You don't do shower beer and wife beer, wife shower sex. All right, we're gonna. This is. It's like 7 in the morning. Kids can come in here now, so we gotta calm down with the shower beer. Squidward's Suicide. I just want to start off by saying if you ever want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for the year of 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, of course, most internships aren't. But it did have some perks beyond education. To adults, it might not seem like a big one, but to kids at the time would go crazy over. Now, since I work directly with the editors and animators, I got to view new episodes days before they aired. I could get right to it without giving too many unnecessary details. They have recently made a SpongeBob movie, and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start up the season. But the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back several months. Me and 2 other interns were in the editing room along with the lead animators and the sound editors for the final cut. We received the copy that was supposed to be Fear of a Krabby Patty and gathered around the screen to watch it. Now, given that it isn't final yet, animators often put up mock-up title cards, sort of an inside joke for us, with phony, often lewdish titles such as How Sex Doesn't Work instead of Rockabye Bivalve. When SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scallop, nothing particularly funny, but work-related chuckles. So when we saw the title card Squidward's Suicide, we didn't think more of it than a morbid joke. I got my priorities. I know. This is how babies are made, or this is how Squidward died. Oh, you got me there. One of the interns did a small throat laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music play as is normal. The story began with Squidward practicing his clarinet. Hitting a few sour notes like normal, we hear SpongeBob laughing outside with Squidward. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside, and Squidward stops, yelling at them to keep it down. He has a concert that night and needs to practice. SpongeBob says okay and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The bubble splash screen moves up the screen and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things began to seem off. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves. but the sound doesn't. At this point, sound is synced up with animation, so yes, it's not common, but when he stops playing, the sound finishes, as if the skip never happened. There is a slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not a normal cartoon booing. That is common in the show, but you could very clearly hear malice in it. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd, with SpongeBob in center frame, and he too is booing, very much unlike him. That isn't the oddest thing, though. What is odd is everyone is hyper-realistic eyes, very detailed. Clearly not shots of real people's eyes, but something a bit more real than CGI. The pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused, but since we weren't the writers, we didn't question its appeal to children yet. The shot goes to Squidward sitting at the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out his porthole windows of the night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part is at this point where there is no sound. Literally no sound. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room, as if the speakers were turned off, though their status showed them working fine. He just sat there blinking in the silence for about 30 seconds. Then he started to sob softly. He put his hands, tentacles, over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute or more. All the while a sound in the background, very slowly growing, from nothing to a barely audible. It sounded like a slight breeze through a forest. The screen slowly began to zoom in on his face. By slowly, I mean it's only noticeable if you look at the shots every 10 seconds apart, side by side. His sobbing gets louder, more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit, as if it twists in on itself for a split second, then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound slowly gets louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part is the sound. The Squidward sobbing sounded real, as if the sound wasn't coming from the speakers, but if the speakers were holes, the sound was coming through from the other side. Hey Siri. You got me. And the sound was coming through from the other side. As good a sound as the studio likes to have. They don't purchase the equipment to be good to produce the sound of the quality. Yeah. Below the sound of the wind and the sobbing, very faint, something sounded like a laugh. It came at odd intervals. It never lasted more than a second, so you had a hard time pinning it. We watched the show twice, so pardon me if this sounds too specific, but I've had time to think about them. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently. Something flashed over the screen as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and rewound it frame by frame. What we saw was it was a still photo of a dead child. He couldn't have been more than 6. The face was mangled and bloodied. One eye dangled over an unturned face, popped. He was naked down to his underwear, his stomach crudely cut open with his entrails laying beside him. He was laying on some pavement, which was probably a road. The most upsetting part was that there was a shadow of a photographer. There was no crime tape, no evidence tags, no markers. The angle was completely off a shot designed to be evidence. It seemed the photographer was the person responsible for the child's death. We were, of course, mortified, but pressed on, hoping that it was just a sick joke. The screen flipped back to Squidward still sobbing louder than before, and half body in the frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in hyper-realistic fashion style, looking as if you touched it, you'd get blood on your fingers. The wind sounded now as if it were a gale blowing through the forest. There were even snapping sounds of branches. The laughing, a deep baritone lasting at longer intervals and coming more frequently. After about 20 seconds, the screen again twisted and showed a single frame photo. The editor was reluctant to go back. We all were, but we knew we had to. This time the photos would have appeared to be a little girl no older than the first child. She was laying on her stomach. Her barrettes in a pool of blood next to her. Her left eye was too popped out, naked except for the underpants. Her entrails were piled on top of her, above another crude cut along her back. Again, the body was on the street. The photographer's shadow was visible, very similar in size and shape of the first. I had to choke back vomit, and one intern, the only female in the room, ran out. The show resumed. After 5 seconds after the video played, after the second photo played, Squidward went silent, as did the sound, like as when the scene started. He put his tentacle down and his eyes were now done in hyperrealism, like the others were in the beginning of the episode. They were bleeding, bloodshot and pulsating. He just stared at the screen, as if watching the viewer. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud. And most fear-inducing of all was his sobbing was mixed with screams. Tears of blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. With sound came back, so did the deep voice laughing. And this time, the still photo lasted for a good 5 frames. The animator was able to stop it on the 4th and back up. This time the photo was of a boy about the same age, and this time the scene was different. The entrails were just being pulled out from the stomach by a large hand. A right eye popped and dangling, blood trickling down it. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different. But we couldn't tell what. He went to the next, same thing. He went back to the first and played it quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor. The animating and sound directors gasped at the screen. The 5 frames were not as if there were 5 different photos. They were played out as if they were frames of a video. He saw a hand slowly lift out the guts. We saw the kid's eye focus on it. We even saw the 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. The lead animator told us to stop. He had to call in the creator to see this. Mr. Hillenberg arrived about 15 minutes. He was confused,
why we called him down, so the editor just continued the episode. Once the few frames were shown, all screaming, all sounding stopped. Squidward just stared at the viewer, full frame of the face for about 3 seconds. The shot quickly panned, and a deep voice said, "Do it." And we see in Squidward's hands a shotgun. He immediately puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter splatter the wall behind him. And his bed, and he flies back with force. The last 5 seconds of the episode show the body on the bed, not his side, one eye dangling. I'll show the body on the bed, on his side, one eye dangling out on the left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it. Then the episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg is obviously angry at this. He demanded to know what in the heck was going on. Most people in the room left. So at this point, it was just a handful of us to watch it again. Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it in my mind. It gave me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. The only theory we could think of was that the file was edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio to here. The CTO was called in to analyze when it happened. The analysis of the file did show it was edited over by new material. However, the timestamp of it was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and hardware, as well as glitches, as if the timestamp may have glitched and showed the wrong time, but everything checked out fine. We don't know what happened, and to this day nobody does. It's 7:12. There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing came of it. No child was identified, and no clues were gathered from the date involved, nor physical clues in the photos. I never believed in unexplainable phenomena before, but now I have something happening, and I can't prove anything about it beyond anecdotal evidence. I think twice about things. And this is the picture. So I woke up at midnight because I went to bed at I stayed up really late yesterday. So I slept from 11 a.m. till midnight, and well, I've been up 7 hours now, but I've got to stay up until I got to stay up 12 more hours. So yeah. Pretty much, bud. Pretty much. But yeah, I might call it quits on this. I'm done, I think. I want to sleep. I mean, I just woke up 7 hours ago. That's not nearly enough to go back to bed for. And I slept for 13 hours. 13 hours. That's too much sleep. Hello. How are you doing? Vanna suck my... Nah, probably not. Not yours. Get some sexy disease. I'll start humping everything. was a spicy burp. But yeah, if you stay on line, Horn Dog will come. Are you sure you spelled that last word right, Seansa? What if this was the style with the hair? You just piled it on top of your head. Oh, there's some right there. This is how I fix my hair. Right there, just that. Kids could be in here. Disgusting. You know, we want to hear about children with their entrails ripped out. Not about grown men. Love the new Chappy. Go to the bank with that hair. Grow you a beard. I had to chop the last one off, along with the mustache. I might grow the mustache back. I was a fan of that. I like that one. Yeah, I can't grow facial hair very well. I'm not super good at it. Hey guys. And always make sure you put on your Burt's Bees. Burt's Bees. It's good for your lips. Burt's Bees with the two little buzzes. There's two little buzzes right there. They don't want to hurt you. But I will if you wake up when I'm putting it on you when you're sleeping. Oh, that's terrible. But I think I might call it quits for the stream. I've been going live for more than 3 hours. It's probably been about 4. I mean, I know this video is sponsored by No Joke Siri. That's we talked about that a long time ago. That they should be a sponsor of the video. What about Benadryl? I mean, this would be the true sponsor of the video right here. This. Sleep, drink, and Advil PM when you really want to go to sleep and you can't be pestered by staying awake anymore. It's daytime. It's not nighttime. I went from European posting to a morning American posting, streaming. That's pretty healthy. Four out of 5 Chappies recommend. All hail the king of all the creeps. I'm something. But yeah, guys. Anyways, I'm gonna take me a shower and do some adulting. I'm gonna go check my mailbox. And give me some Smokies and an energy drink. I might go hang out with my aunt today. She had surgery a couple weeks ago. Make sure she's okay. Who's going to go to sleep right now? I think Sianta will. Sianta works nights. I mean, essentially that's what happens to bees when they sting you. Their guts get ripped out, right? Do I work out? No, I probably should though. Yeah, I know, she's doing good. Yeah, you work night shift at the Wiener factory. I know, bud. Look at that little curlet. Where's it at? That one right there. I don't know what it's doing. Whatever. Sing you a lullaby. I got one better for you. That's all you get. You woke up at 4 a.m. because your sleep cycle is a joke. When I was in the oil field, I woke up at 3 o'clock every day and stayed awake till 6 or 7. Time to go shotgun a beer and smoke a cig in the shower with my wife. You know, if you shotgun the beer and then you cut the lid off and the back off, and then you cut it in half, you can have a shield for your cigarette. You eat pickles and enjoy it. Sing for y'all? I would sing for y'all, but I really do have to go. And last time I did, I got in trouble by YouTube because they said I stole music. I don't know. I need to get me a karaoke license. But all right, folks. Well, you know I love you. Y'all stay awesome. Oh, no worries. Thank you, Retro. Not gonna sing right now. I would, but yeah, y'all be good, and I don't know. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.